You're watching TelecomTV from the MEF17 event in Orlando. And I'm joined now by Pascal who is Chief Technology Officer at the MEF. Pascal, good to talk to you again on TelecomTV.
Thank you.
So Pascal, we're at MEF17 and one of the big announcements that the MEF has made has been around MEF 3.0. Can you explain what this is?
So MEF 3.0 is very important because what we've done is we've taken the last 2 years of work in MEF, and we packaged it to help telcos all over the world to move on the transformational journey. So what's going on across the industry, there's this digital economy coming in, this digital transformation, and that digital transformation is making all the telecommunication and the networks in the world to transform themselves into like this cloud-like native fabric, so that basically a tenant can just go in, say what they want, and automatically everything just happens instantaneously. That you would think would happen today, it doesn't. So this telecommunication journey, this transformational journey that the telecommunication industry is on, needs this kind of vehicle to help them on this journey. So what we've done in this MEF 3.0, we've packaged it up in a way that anybody can get on the journey, no matter how far they're in the journey or just starting, they can get on this journey. So if you think about it, the four main areas we talked about are services, traditional services, but new services to make new revenue. There's the idea of certification of your services to make sure that it works right. You know, that's obviously what in the past we've done in the past. What we added is the idea of APIs. And we've talked in the past about how APIs, everything's going to software, so you need APIs to make everything automated. APIs is the basics of how automation is going to happen between providers and subscribers and everything. And the last one is we created a community. Now the community is really interesting. The community allows these providers all over the world to work in their local communities to get and figure out how to learn from the other people on the journey and how to be participating in that journey. And you know, there's many buckets in the community I won't get into, but that means that they can start engaging on this transformational journey. And MEF 3.0 is the platform, the global platform that will enable them to do that.
Is it fair to say that with Carrier Ethernet 2.0, the focus was on tier 1 type providers, whereas what you're doing now has the ability and potential to really broaden its appeal and reach? We've
spent so much on the tier 1 providers who actually are, most of them are well on this transformation journey and have been leading it. So it's really good for them. But there's thousands and thousands of these access providers and these local providers all over the world that are still unsure of how to enter the journey. And if you don't get them in the boat with you, you don't get this end-to-end automation happening, because even though the tier 1s could have, they do have access to some destinations, what we call local loops to the actual sites, they don't have all the accesses. And so you have thousands and thousands of these providers that do have those, what we call local loops or access, and they need to be in the boat and have to have automation in order to that a subscriber says, turn me up from A to Z, and the Z is somewhere else, off net to some other local provider. They are participating in that ecosystem.
Historically, with the telecoms operators, there's been a bit of a problem talking to enterprises. The two don't often see eye to eye, or the dialogue doesn't flow naturally. But you're trying to listen to enterprises more now with this, aren't you? You're establishing this council for enterprises.
We haven't really announced it yet because we're actually doing, we want to bring in a large amount of these multinational enterprises. First of all, we're going after the multinational enterprises. We're really having, have to deal with hundreds and thousands of sites and hundreds of data centers that, have hundreds of thousands of employees that have to work from. And listening to those guys, they really have big pain points. And they really need the telecommunication fabrics to run right. So what we're doing is we're bringing them in as an advisory council to help us in two areas. One is, are we doing the right things and in what priority? And that's, any good product management would do that, listen to your customers. And the second thing they're saying is, what's going on in the telecommunication transformations is coming back to us in our own enterprises, because we're like a mini operator anyways. With the hundreds and thousands of sites, we got to manage all this stuff, and we want that automation here too.
Moving on to another aspect of the MEF's work at the moment, there's a lot of talk in the industry about SD-WAN, a lot of interest from telcos and their customers wanting SD-WAN services. How is the MEF enabling the development of SD-WAN? Because I think at the moment there's some slight vagaries as to what SD-WAN actually is.
SD-WAN, some can look like, oh, it's going to take away some of my managed networks, but the answer is no. SD-WAN is going to enable new opportunities, new services. SD-WAN is actually the unification of the underlying wide area network physically, so you can apply standard policies to it, whether it be a broadband loop, an Ethernet loop, or a copper loop, I don't care, and you get a consistent policy and behavior from it. But additionally, it's the bridge between the kind of like connectivity world to these new services world. So because it's an overlay virtualized model, it allows operators to move into new service opportunities as a virtualized services. So for example, security as a service, application performance services. SD-WAN by definition is really looking at the performance of applications across the wide area network. That's the real highest value. And so what we are doing in the MEF is we're actually enabling the standardization of the service, including the applications tie-in, and also, the certification, we're going after it, and then finally give proper label description, the whole market, education about, they call it by different names, different parts of the SD-WAN, and so we're trying to give right terminology and the right definition, the whole market education awareness, we're also adding to that as part of our marketing.
So what are some of the MEF-defined SDN-WAN managed service components?
First of all, what we're not doing is we're not going to go invent protocols in SD-WAN. So what we've defined is there's this SD-WAN edge, that sits, either in the customer edge site, we'll call the CPE, or it could be sitting at the private cloud in a virtual machine, that's an edge too. And then there's this gateway function, we call the SD-WAN gateway, that takes it from an SD-WAN to like an MPLS network, or a carrier Ethernet network directly. And then there's the SDN controller. The SDN controller is the kind of brains between the edge and the gateway. And what we do above the controller is really what we're working on. So the APIs above the controller is where we allow the ability to specify policies, like application policies, service policies, and so on, and also the ability to provision like what edge goes to what edge. And so this is done at the highest layer of service level orchestration. As you know, MEF's all about now that service level orchestration and the APIs. So we're talking about the APIs above the SD-WAN controller, and that API then controls the SD-WAN controller or controllers that then controls all the edges and gateways.
Great. Pascal, thank you very much.
Thank you.